All right, so are you ready to dive deep into some holiday drama?
Always.
Because today's deep dive takes us straight into the heart of a holiday showdown. Brewing in someone's workplace. We're talking holiday shifts, family dynamics, and burning. A whole lot of online debate thanks to this Reddit post we found. Get ready for some serious unpacking of perspectives on work, life, and what's considered fair, when the festive season rolls around.
Yeah, this is a really interesting case, I think, because it touches on so many things at once, like personal choices, workplace expectations, and even those unspoken societal pressures that can bubble up around the holidays,
Yeah, absolutely. So let's break it down. We've got a 29-year-old worker who snagged that coveted Christmas morning shift, meaning they can enjoy the rest of the day with family over their coworker. A 39-year-old parent of a young child has the midday shift and is absolutely refusing to work it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So this is where things get complicated, right? The coworker's argument is that being a parent should automatically grant them priority when it comes to holiday scheduling. But that raises a big question. Should family status dictate workplace benefits? And what are the potential consequences of going down that road?
Yeah, it's definitely a slippery slope. And to add fuel to the fire, the original poster, we'll call them OP, has been covering this undesirable shift for years without complaint. They've been a team player, but now they're facing pushback and a sense of entitlement from this coworker.
It's a classic example of how consistently going above and beyond can backfire.
Right.
Sometimes it leads others to see your flexibility as an obligation rather than a gesture of goodwill. This situation really highlights the importance of setting clear boundaries from the start and advocating for your own needs in the workplace.
And you know what makes this whole thing even messier? The manager is being completely hands-off, basically telling them to figure it out themselves.
Oh my gosh.
No.
Yep. Talk about a leadership fail. It's a manager's responsibility to mediate these kinds of conflicts and ensure fairness in the workplace. This lack of intervention not only leaves the employees to duke it out, but also begs the question, is the manager truly neutral? Or are they subtly favoring the coworker with a child by not addressing the issue directly?
Right. And it's interesting because the internet definitely has some strong opinions on this. The Reddit response has been overwhelmingly in favor of the OP, with many commenters, even parents themselves, calling out the coworker's behavior as entitled and unreasonable.
This online reaction is fascinating because it might point to a shift in societal attitudes. We're seeing more pushback against the assumption that having children automatically grants someone special privileges in the workplace. It's not about diminishing the importance of family. It's about recognizing that everyone has different needs and commitments that deserve respect and consideration.
Yeah, and let's dive into some of the specific arguments from the Reddit thread. One commenter pointed out that celebrating Christmas on a different day wouldn't ruin the experience for a 4-year-old. It's the quality time and the shared traditions that matter, not being rigidly tied to a specific date.
Absolutely, yeah. That comment highlights the need for flexibility and creative solutions. It's a reminder that we can often find ways to accommodate different needs without compromising the spirit of the occasion.
For sure. And another commenter brought up a really compelling point. Working parents in essential services, like healthcare or emergency response, often have to work holidays. They manage to adapt to make it work for their families, showing that it's not impossible to find a balance.
That's a crucial point to consider. It underscores the idea that while having children is a significant life choice, it doesn't necessarily override the needs or commitments of others. Everyone has their own circumstances to navigate. And finding solutions often requires a degree of compromise and understanding from all parties involved.
Totally. And here's another argument that stood out to me: the potential for discrimination. If managers consistently favor parents over childless employees, it could create an unfair and even hostile work environment for those without kids.
Yeah, this brings up some important legal and ethical considerations. While flexibility and accommodation are valuable, it's crucial to ensure that all employees are treated fairly and have equal opportunities. Regardless of their family status, favoritism can not only lead to resentment, but can also create a culture where some employees feel undervalued or overlooked.
So we've got a worker who feels taken advantage of, a coworker seemingly playing the parent card, and a manager avoiding conflict like the plague. It's a recipe for disaster, right?
Absolutely. And what's even more interesting is how this seemingly simple scheduling conflict reveals so much about our evolving social norms and the ongoing struggle to find a sustainable work-life balance, especially during times like the holidays when emotions and expectations run high.
This is a deep dive with many layers. We've only just scratched the surface, and there's so much more to explore. Stay with us, because in the next part, We'll dig deeper into the Reddit community's response and unpack some potential solutions for creating a fairer and more inclusive workplace environment. It's amazing how a single Reddit post can spark such a passionate discussion, and expose these underlying tensions that exist in so many workplaces. One thing that really jumped out at me from the comments was this idea that this whole conflict could have been avoided with some simple upfront communication.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It seems like the coworker in this situation went straight to a more demanding approach instead of trying to work things out amicably. A simple conversation could have made a world of difference.
Totally. Imagine if they had approached the OP and said hey, the morning shift would really help me out this year. Is there any way we could switch? Or find a solution that works for both of us. It's a totally different approach than essentially throwing a tantrum and using guilt as leverage.
It's a great example of how approaching a situation with empathy and a willingness to collaborate can lead to much better outcomes than resorting to demands or ultimatums. In the workplace, building positive relationships with your colleagues is key. And that starts with clear and respectful communication.
Reading through those comments, I couldn't help but think about all the other childless workers out there who might be facing similar situations, feeling pressured to give up their holiday time because they're made to feel like their needs are somehow less important.
It's a valid concern. This case really highlights the need for open and honest conversations about work-life balance, recognizing that everyone has different priorities, and finding ways to create a workplace culture that supports those diverse needs without creating a hierarchy of importance.
Yeah, and a big part of that falls on the shoulders of managers, right? If the manager in this story had been more proactive about setting clear expectations for holiday scheduling, or implemented a system for employees to express their preferences in advance, maybe this whole conflict could have been prevented.
Absolutely. Think about it. They could have a system where employees submit their holiday shift preferences well in advance. Or they could implement a rotating schedule so that everyone gets a fair chance at having certain days off over a period of time. There are so many ways to approach this proactively and fairly.
Those are great ideas.
Yeah.
But even beyond policies and procedures, it seems like fostering a workplace culture where people feel comfortable voicing their needs and advocating for themselves without fear of judgment or repercussion is crucial.
Couldn't agree more. It's about creating an environment where everyone feels heard and respected, regardless of their family situation. Ultimately, a healthy workplace is one where people feel valued and empowered to speak up, knowing that their concerns will be taken seriously.
So we've talked about personal boundaries, fairness, communication, and the role of management. But out of everything we've discussed today, what do you think is the single most important takeaway for our listeners as we all head into this holiday season?
What really stands out to me is how this Reddit thread has sparked a much larger conversation about the evolving expectations around family and work. It's a reminder that while we should absolutely support working parents, we also need to be mindful of not perpetuating a system where having children automatically grants someone special treatment or priority in the workplace.
It's about finding that balance, isn't it? Recognizing that everyone's time is valuable and striving to create work environments that are both supportive and equitable for everyone.
Exactly. And sometimes that requires us to step outside of our own perspectives and biases, whether we're parents or not. We all have our own unique experiences that shape how we see the world. Being open to hearing different viewpoints, even if they challenge your own assumptions, is essential for building empathy and understanding.
That's such an important point. Ultimately, a little bit of empathy and a willingness to communicate openly can go a long way, especially during a time like the holidays when tensions can run high.
You've hit the nail on the head. We often think of the holidays as a time of joy and togetherness. But the reality is that they can also be a source of stress and conflict, both at home and at work. Remembering that we're all human, we all have our own unique circumstances, and we're all just trying to navigate this crazy thing called life is crucial.
So true. Well, this deep dive has certainly given us a lot to think about. We've explored the complexities of workplace fairness, the importance of setting boundaries, and the ever-evolving dynamics between work and personal life, all through the lens of this holiday scheduling conflict.
And we've seen how a simple Reddit post can open a window into larger societal trends and spark conversations about responsibility, empathy, and the ongoing quest for true work-life balance.
This has been a really thought-provoking discussion. But we're not done yet. We've got one final part of this deep dive, where we'll shift gears a bit and explore some potential solutions for companies and individuals looking to create more equitable and supportive workplace environments. So far, we've really dug into the conflict itself and explored these broader societal trends at play. But now let's shift gears a bit and talk about solutions. How can we move beyond the finger pointing and actually create more equitable and supportive workplaces, especially during this crazy holiday season?
I think it all starts with like a shift in perspective. We need to move away from the idea that work-life balance is a zero-sum game, where one person's gain is automatically another person's loss. Instead, we need to start thinking about it as a shared responsibility and a collaborative effort.
I love that idea of shared responsibility. It's not about pitting parents against non-parents or creating a competition for who has it harder. It's about recognizing that everyone has their own unique set of challenges and finding ways to support each other.
Exactly. And that support can come in many forms, from flexible scheduling policies to open communication channels, where employees feel comfortable voicing their needs and concerns without fear of judgment or negative consequences.
Speaking of flexible policies, many commenters in the Reddit thread suggested that companies should implement clearer guidelines for holiday scheduling. Things like a system for submitting preferences in advance, a rotating schedule, or even offering incentives for those who volunteer to work less desirable shifts.
Yeah, those are all excellent suggestions. And beyond specific policies, it's about fostering a culture of open communication and understanding, encouraging managers to have regular check-ins with their employees about their needs and preferences. Not just during the holidays, but year-round can make a huge difference.
I think another important piece of the puzzle is addressing those unspoken societal expectations that often add fuel to the fire. We need to challenge the idea that certain people, whether it's parents or caregivers or those without family obligations, are automatically entitled to certain perks or privileges in the workplace.
Yeah, I agree. It's about moving towards a more nuanced understanding of individual needs and recognizing that everyone deserves to feel valued and respected regardless of their personal circumstances. And that includes recognizing that sometimes. The best solution isn't about bending over backwards to accommodate every single individual preference, but about finding a compromise that works as fairly as possible for everyone involved.
That's such a crucial point. It's about fairness, compromise, and understanding that sometimes even with the best intentions, we can't make everyone perfectly happy all the time.
Exactly. And that's okay. Life is full of trade-offs. The key is to approach these challenges with a spirit of empathy, open communication, and a willingness to find creative solutions that work for the majority of people involved.
Well, this deep dive has really opened my eyes to the complexities of this issue. It's easy to get caught up in the emotional side of things, especially during the holidays. But ultimately, it comes down to finding a balance between individual needs and the overall well-being of the team and the organization.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance for sure, and one that requires constant dialogue, flexibility, and a willingness to adapt as circumstances change.
I think that's a great note to end on. It's a reminder that creating a truly equitable and supportive workplace is an ongoing process, not a one-time fix. It requires open minds, open hearts, and a commitment to working together to find solutions that benefit everyone.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
That wraps up our deep dive into the world of holiday scheduling, family dynamics, and the ever-evolving conversation about work-life balance. We hope you found this exploration as insightful and thought-provoking as we have.
I've certainly enjoyed the conversation.
And we want to thank you, our listener, for joining us on this journey. Remember, even the most seemingly mundane workplace conflicts can offer valuable lessons about ourselves, our society, and the ongoing quest for a more just and equitable world. Until next time, keep diving deep, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going.